Hi, welcome to MGID Talks India. We are back with another interesting topic, programmatic advertising, an enabler of growth for digital publisher. With our special guest, Mr. Anushrav Gulati, Head Indirect Revenue at Times Internet. He is a technologist and digital business leader with an experience of over 20 years in the industries like media, e-commerce, and IT. In the past, he has worked with the companies like Network 18, India TV, Infosys, TCS, and many more. Hi, Anisha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For our audiences, let's first understand what is programmatic advertising. To put simply, programmatic advertising is the automated buying and selling of digital advertising space. And this automation makes transaction very efficient and more effective, streamlining the process and consolidating your digital advertising efforts in one technology platform. In order to understand, Anushrav, if you can tell me that what are the current programmatic advertising, what is the current programmatic advertising landscape in India with regards to growth, scale, challenges, opportunities, and what do you think about the emerging programmatic devices and brand safety will be covered in those or not?
Right. I think in India right now, the programmatic landscape is a rapidly evolving ecosystem. And by and large, programmatic is becoming quite mainstream now. Programmatic in this sense covers not only what we generally call as programmatic guaranteed or private auctions and all that, but it's entire transaction that happens in automated means, as you just mentioned, and also
Mhm.
covers biddable. I mean, if I go by what we get to hear from the market, that roughly this year's digital ad spend, I mean, total ad spends could be about 120,000 crores in Indian market, and digital may take up something about 50,000 crores. That's about a 30% upside from the projected estimated numbers of FY22. And you may easily or safely assume that if these numbers are going to be closer to what the actuals would be, the programmatic spends could easily be in the range of about 20,000 to 30,000 crores. Now, that would cover a regular biddable media buying and also what we call as programmatic performance these days.
Mhm. Mhm.
Where performance as a key criteria while doing programmatic buying. So I think more or less the landscape is pretty vibrant, evolving. Also driven by the fact that with the changing ecosystem, focus on privacy, the the jolts given by COVID, I think both advertisers and agencies and even publishers are becoming more conscious of driving ROI and how to engage audiences better. So I think this is what is looking like what the year would be in terms of ad spends. I think a lot of media houses and a lot of content owners or app owners who deal with sizable amount of users, be it e-commerce, be it telecom, wherever. I think everybody is now started to look at their ad stack in a more informed manner, which is a good thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
We hope that going forward, this should bring a lot of positive change in the market.
With regards to display versus video, do you see that, there's a lot of shift which has happened in programmatic buying? Because, previously it's largely more of in display inventory that was bought out. Do you see that, video gonna have a lion share of, buys happening by programmatic channel?
Glad that you brought it up. I agree. See, what is happening is that video fundamentally is more engaging medium these days. Now,
Mm-hmm.
every publisher, every buyer, every advertiser, especially on digital space, is struggling with banner blindness or sort of formats which are generally quite bland. I mean, you would have certain innovations coming on banner side where you may have some interaction developed, and a lot of engaging formats are now coming up, which we call as conversation ad formats or something like that. But I think by and large, videos carry that inherent capacity to engage the users better, right? You both with visual and audio, you are able to put the message across. And with the increased absorption of or adoption of cloud-based technologies, I think it is becoming far more easier to deliver video content without too much of hassles in terms of latency or other stuff. These things are improving. So I think
Mhm.
video is going to be a mainstay in the coming year.
And like,
Completely agree.
some of the challenges what you see that might come up in the near future in the programmatic space, because we talked about data, we talked about privacy, there are a lot of other things which are coming in. So, what are the key challenges do you think that might come up in this space?
I think there might be few things that might come up, but I think the current challenges, I believe themselves are quite big enough to deal with.
Mhm.
In my opinion, the challenges that we sort of are concerned with on a daily basis and deal with on daily basis are number one, I think I would say brand safety. A lot more goes into a generic keyword of brand safety. Earlier, it used to be, I mean, it used to be a very basic way of handling a situation when COVID started, that a lot of buyers said, whenever there is a COVID article, we do not want advertising to be done there, and advertising would be restricted. But over a period of time, everybody's outlook matured, and they would understand that brand safety doesn't mean that you are not informing users about the information they're looking for, even if it may be
Mhm.
an uncomfortable topic of COVID for that matter. But the other aspect of brand safety, which I think started a long way with Cambridge Analytica and stuff, is about incorrect information or fake news or inappropriate way of you know passing messages to a community in a closed ecosystem. I think that is a very big concern. There have been efforts on, government of India has put in fact checkers. Every publisher, every content or news creator has put their fact checking in place. Every social media platform is doing fact checking in place. But just that the scale of this whole thing is so vast, and especially with India sitting on, such a humongous population base, I think brand safety needs a lot more investment, in the sense that we need to understand, are we putting the right advertisements, or are we putting the right focus on the advertisers intention, and that cannot be just done through putting few fact checkers in place. You need to deeply invest into technology, doing AI and ML ecosystem in place, which can pass through, sieve through sentimental analysis, or figure out where automatically you can turn off a certain spending. I think there is a lot more automation which is needed, and a lot more investment that needs to come from every corner. If the ecosystem has to build bridge this gap between the intention and where the
Yeah.
content is really being, how the content and what content is being dispersed through which channel.
Definitely,
I think.
brand safety is one of the biggest challenge what we see for programmatic and also for other publishers and also from the brand side. And this is like one area wherein advertiser and publisher needs to work together in order to resolve it. And quite recently, there has been a lot of talk about the new devices. So, what do you think about the emerging devices and what role they will play in the overall programmatic ecosystem?
See, from a devices perspective, see, mobile has always been the forefront. Indians have been very excited and very exuberant in terms of adopting mobile as a platform, and it's far easier to get the thing going, right? I mean, don't have to have the hassles of buying a laptop or a desktop or a monitor. You just have a
Mhm.
mobile phone and you are on the line. I think mobile is one very important format, but if you look at how things are evolving now, and it pertains to your previous question about the landscape. Now, landscape also involves certain concerns about how to deal with third-party cookies. What is going to happen, and I think um, this has led to emergence of earlier considered as niche, for example, connected TV or DOH. I think connected TV is in India a largely underestimated platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'll not really refer to the MRC definition of what is OTT versus connected TV. I'm specifically talking in terms of smart TV
Mm-hmm.
as a device. I mean, if you look at the current, counterpoint research, you would, I mean, as per them, the connected TV market is taking about 50% of all the market share under 40 inches sizes, right? Or is going to take. Uh, and COVID has sort of accelerated that. Everybody is locked in. Everybody needs to find a way out. OTT has taken a thing. Earlier it was mobile. Now we've got kids who want to watch YouTube. We have got families who want to watch some or other content on, whether it is subscription or a what sort of content creator. So I think it has led to a large scale adoption. And I think in the current year, which is an Indian ecosystem point of view, financial year 23, would see a lot of traction in this area. We should consider it as a green field, at least in the Indian ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
I think apart from connected TV, DOH or out of home is also going to be interesting, because these platforms, if you look at it, barring mobile devices, whether it is smart TV, whether it is LED screen somewhere on an expressway, they are mostly not tracking the user in a more intrusive way as a cookie would, right? Especially DOS screens are not. So if you're able to do a right geo targeting and to the right set of audience, I think you would be able to do a better job. And I know that a lot of companies are going to the direction where they are embedding smart cameras and ecosystem in terms of analyzing that what kind of area it is where that billboard is established. So if you know it's closer to a kindergarten or a school, probably will make sure that you would not run ads which are not relevant for kids, but probably focus on something else. I think this is a very good and evolving platform, and this is something that I would consider are going to be very important areas for both buyers and publishers to focus on in the coming maybe next 8 to 16 months
Yeah.
sort of time frame.
So, especially in the last 2 years, we have seen that getting those kind of yields was a problem for each and every publishers, and also for all of us, that revenue, took a lot of hit. So, how can publisher effectively manage and optimize programmatic inventories in order to achieve higher rates? Because, end of the day, inventory size remains the same, or it increases to a certain extent, but how to ensure the higher yields from the same inventory or the new inventory which is being added up?
It's a very good question, I would say. See, the first thing that goes in understanding or dealing with this scenario is to find one's own place. Now, I'll speak from TIL's Times Internet's perspective. We very well recognize our role, and our role is of suppliers, right? We drive users, or users come and consume content on our websites, and that creates so-called inventory. Now, inventory is really what? Inventory is a cookie and ad size combination, basically a anonymized user and an ad size combination on a given website or a page, right? That
Mhm.
delivers a type of content. It could be news, it could be entertainment, it could be finance, whatever. Thing is, if you are supplier of the inventory, you need to understand that the buyers whom you are trying to sell that supply, they have certain expectations, right? They are the ones who are spending money. Now, buyers could be either DSPs or primarily agencies. Actually, it's the advertiser at the beginning of the whole supply chain. Now, if an advertiser doesn't get an ROI on the ad impressions that are being delivered on any supplier's website or app, it means you are becoming irrelevant for that guy pretty soon. So as a supplier, as a publisher, the fundamental things that you need to look at is how are you increasing the value of your supply, of your ad request, of your inventory to the buyer, not really to the ad exchange or the SSPs or the
Mm-hmm.
ad net, whatever. Fundamentally to the advertiser, right? And few things that make a difference is I mean, putting the right strategy in place, right from how you acquire your users, what is your user acquisition or traffic acquisition strategy, how relevant is that, are you making sure that you're not getting invalid or bot traffic, for example. How are you placing your ad slots in your in your pages. Now that thing has to go at the time of designing of the page, when the product managers or whoever it is putting the user journey in place, and that ads have to be inherent part of a particular page, if this is how you have designed it or this is what your business depends on. You need to understand and accept it and build it accordingly, so that while ad placements serve best ROI in terms of CTR or impressions to the advertiser, they are also not really disrupting the user's intent. Now, if the user is here to do some research or get some news, you don't really have to block everything out and show an ad, because then the user goes away. If user goes away, whom are you serving the ads? So I think as a publisher, you need to look at how you are acquiring users, how your page designs are working or app designs are working. If you are a transaction based user, you need to figure out what is the right trigger to show an ad. um, it is also about how you are optimizing your supply pipes, what kind of redundancies or
Mm-hmm.
duplicities are in place. How are you tracking your ad impressions? Are your ad speed scores, for example, right or not? Are you firing your ad tags in time, and so
That
forth?
is
So
quite interesting, like especially as you mentioned about formats. So maybe like video versus display. So maybe a user is coming, as you mentioned, that the user can be a normal user or transacting user, or whether I should show him a video ad or a display ad, and then customization can happen and or personalization, which will also give you on or better yields.
absolutely, and I think if you are able to implement the whole ad stack in a more hygienic way,
Hmm.
Uh, the signals that are captured by your ad request would carry enough and clear information for the advertiser as to tell them whether this user right now is ready for a banner ad or a video ad. And if you know that this is the in market or the affinity for the user, maybe you can do the right delivery, right? You may even also run audio ads with the companion manner, depending upon how well you have orchestrated the entire mechanism to deliver an ad, and how clean are your supplies.
Hmm.
I think the reason I'm emphasizing on this is that many times we just build a website, we put an ad server, ad tags in place, and be done with, and we assume that everything is fine and the ecosystem will take care of it. But I think right now this is a stage where publishers need to take a more active role and be more cognizant of the fact that there is an advertiser who's sitting the other side of the table, and you need to be delivering value to not only your users but to the advertisers, and both go in hand. You cannot really prioritize one over another. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously deferring to your business model, but I think this is the time that everybody needs to look at whole end-to-end supply chain in a more or dual prong focus of not only users but also advertisers, and that would solve a lot of.
So, in this overall scenario, how can native advertising platforms like us support publishers?
I think that's a no-brainer question because see, a lot of publishers, I mean, they need support in terms of building revenue streams, right? Not every publisher would be in a position to run, a millions of page views per month, or put up a, 200 people ad sales team to drive revenues. There are maybe 70-80% of publishers who would be sitting on a limited volume base, but their quality of the users may be exceptional, right? You may be driving a niche segment, for example health or auto, but you may have a very sticky user base, but you may still not be able to drive revenue to the fair value of the users that you're plugging into the into the ecosystem. So I think with platforms like MGID, that gap is taken care of because it acts as your representation or a pseudo sales team, gets you best quality deals, and it takes care of a lot of headache in terms of uh, cleaning up the supply time again. I mean, you don't have to worry about whether my viewability is right or not. Do I have to put a bunch of engineers to sort out my CTRs or renders or whatever? I think platform like MGID, which have built up the sophistication at the back end, and it's not only MGID, a lot of players which are at the forefront have those technologies which fundamentally take care of a lot of headache for the publishers. And I think nobody should shy away from such deployments, because gone are the days where you would say, oh, you're running some spurious ad, or I think or something like that. All these platforms, especially MGID, are DV360 certified. You have backend systems running, you have sales teams in place which directly source demand from the same set of people that a bigger publisher would do, like agencies or brands. So I think it's good quality demand coming at a least amount of legwork from the publisher and generates a
Mhm.
good ROI. I think
Yeah.
it's a pretty good sort of stream that every publisher who can afford to should give it a shot.
Well, in the today's world, there is a lot of talks regarding data and Web 3.0. Uh, in that scenario, how do you think how will publisher utilize programmatic advertising in a cookieless era? As there will be no data, I will not be able to have a precision level of targeting as it is being done now. So,
Uh, See, Web 3.0, I'll not comment on it just because of the fact that I think I'm not informed on it, and also that I'm skeptical about it. I come from those days when Web 2.0 had also started, and people were about, what is Web 2.0, and the definitions would range from funny to funnier. Somebody would say Web 2.0 means all the buttons on the apps should not use 3D layout. They should be flat layouts, or somebody should run only APIs. That is Web 2.0. I think similarly, now that Web 3.0 is in picture, I think mostly people refer to more serious and sophisticated aspects like blockchains, or more solid fraud detection, and more distributed cloud-based computing and edge computing. But uh, and those are like gimmicks for me right now. I mean, in the sense, I am not well informed.
So, largely on the cookieless, and when we talk about data sharing, which is having of CDPs or DMPs in place, and somewhere which helps you to advertise. So, how things will go, or how publisher can utilize programmatic advertising when there is no such availability of data available, and Google filling those cookies.
I think the simple answer for your question here, Pankaj, is that this is a time that publishers start baking their own cookies, right? Uh, See, the cookie problem is that if somebody is running their website, any other system cannot, cannot drop their own cookies, right? And if they do, that cookie cannot be passed as part of an HTTP request or GET request. Nobody's stopping from putting third-party cookies in place, just that those cookies would become null and void
Yeah.
from a advertising on a programmatic ecosystem or ad tech ecosystem. But at the same time, publishers have full right to put in their first party cookies, right? They can put their own cookies that. So I think publishers need to look at two things right now. They need to deploy means and mechanism to not only start putting first party data in place, but also doing the required industry standard manifestation. For example, whether your cookies that you're collecting and categorizing them into a given segment, are they industry standard or not? How efficient are you in terms of categorizing the users in a given cohort? I mean, whether it's an auto segment or a whichever categories you're putting, whether your algorithms of identifying such stuff is right or not. I think that is most important thing that publisher starts to do now, and it's not really a big deal, right? I mean, if you don't have your tech in place, you can always talk to a lot of players in the market today who can help you build your data lakes, and you can keep them perpetually with them. Obviously, it comes with a cost, but then it reduces your go to market in this ecosystem. I think the second thing is again relating to the hygiene part that we were discussing from inventory perspective, that better are you able to put your content and user strategy in place and sync them. More effectively would you be able to run advertising through contextual ecosystem, right? You don't have to really do a cookie based targeting. If you are doing right content, you're doing the right user to content mapping, in the sense of you're surfacing the right content to the right user. The context itself provides a larger categorization of the user into a
Correct.
given segment, and that sorts a lot of problems. So I think the holy grail for the users in this setup is that you ought to and need to have your first party data set up in place and properly acid tested before the cookies goes away, because even just putting a first party data is not good enough until unless that data has quality and is categorized right. You cannot
Correct.
really put a mobile user into an auto segment and then say why my ads are not working or my targeting is failing or my reach is not there, right? That is to be sorted. I think that is the mother load of everything. All the other solutions which are coming in between, whether it's Flock or Pledge or uh, identity user IDs and identity graph solutions, I think they are all sort of trying to reach somewhere. And in my opinion, the final gate, the checkpoint is really to reach to a first party data, a robust first party data. I think that is where the things would stop. Second is to diversify into contextual, and then if you have enough video content, you may go into connected TV, you may go into more of DOH, all those which have less reliance on the cookie to deliver targeting and advertising. I think those are more logical approaches, but I think a lot
Correct.
also needs to be seen how the big players find a strategy, what European watchdog is decided to give in or give up, what IAB comes up with. And I think there's a lot of things to really say anything inclusively right now on this. But maybe alternatives would be what I just mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, these are some of the few things which publishers needs to look at. Having their own CDPs in place or having more understanding of the users and creating those kind of cohorts. And this will be the sort of way forward for the cookieless world. Because out of the overall advertising industry, there are only 20 to 30% of the people who actually use data or third party data for advertising. Like 70% of advertisers are actually doing advertising without uses of those layerings or DNPs XYZ. But yeah, that's exists. So yeah, it was an interesting one, Anshav. Thank you so much for joining us. It was pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And hope to talk to you guys